Nope, no problem.
So I did be tough sitting in the middle there.
I just can't look for it, right? You gotta go back on vacation. Do you not have any twitching on vacation?
Yeah, yeah.
Zero Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's the most annoying thing in the world. You feel like everyone can see it.
And then you do this, so you're holding your, and then you look like a bigger idiot because you're walking around holding your eye when no one can see you push your.
And then all of a sudden you're twitching too. Great. Awesome.
Tomorrow. No, not tomorrow, Wednesday.
Oh.
You're already gone.
I'm going
You're
out,
checked out.
feet in the snow.
Yeah, did you see?
It is gonna snow.
No, it's not.
I had a vacation and we got to the airport. Tuesday.
That's right. You didn't. All the help we can get.
Yes. Divine providence, for sure.
And we went away to Mass.
My plan with the whole carport thing was to cover the parking lot completely so we wouldn't have to plow. Apparently that doesn't work.
In fact, it's more expensive because they have to work around them.
No, they can do that.
If you're
Good thought.
anyone is the staff member, school committee member, or student, you got the way over there.
Yeah.
What, Mary?
You're all good.
I think so.
That's like.
It's kind of lonely. But it's okay. Yeah, it's true. Good morning.
Yeah, I'm great. All right, we're gonna call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Order of business, pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, any discussion, comments, adjustments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes. Could I have a motion to approve the open session minutes of January 25th, 2016?
Motion to approve the open session minutes of January 25th, 2016.
Any adjustments or comments? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Community comments. Welcome, community. Any comments? What? Okay, moving on. We are moving right along today. Student comments. Chris, it's good to see you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Just such a good community. Nothing that needs to be brought up. On January 8th, 93 students went to the DECA district competition in Foxborough. All students did a great job. The following 6 students set themselves apart from the field of competition with first place finishes. Cameron Busby, Abigail Colombo, Connor Morford, Kevin Murphy, Drew Nelson, and Angelica Pachowski. Students won in the categories of travel and merchandising, sports and entertainment marketing, and travel and tourism. These students will travel to the International Career Development Conference in Nashville, Tennessee to compete in April. Hope I make it as well. On February 3rd, Nipmuc celebrated National Signing Day. The following 7 students, athletes from the class of 2016 have committed to play a sport at the collegiate level. Kevin Hack going to Assumption College, Grant Jorgensen at Norwich University, Kylie Lerotte at St. Anselm College, Ryan Norquist at Gordon University, Caleb Phoebe at Assumption, Tom Sperino at Franklin Pierce University, and Amanda St. Germain at WPI.
Great.
I know, right? 4 Nipmuc swimmers placed at the Division I State Swim Championship on Friday, February 19th at Boston University. The Northbridge Coupe swim team placed 11th overall out of the nearly 50 teams from all over Massachusetts. On Friday, March 4th, Nipmuc will hold the second 21st Century Learning Conference with the theme of connected learning. The conference is designed to provide students with meaningful, real-world learning opportunities to connect to their daily learning in Nipmuc's classrooms with their personal vision of their post-high school plans. In workshops, presentations will be provided to students with opportunities for hands-on experiences. I really like that one. Are we going to be dressing up this year as well?
We are, yes. Dress for success.
That's a really good workshop. That's what we got.
All right. Questions?
Thank you.
No, awesome, all good things.
Very
That was
good.
good. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, then moving right along, superintendent comments.
Okay, so more good things for you guys. First, I put the information in your packet. We're really proud that within the last week or so, we got up and running the FLES program at the elementary school. FLES standing for Foreign Language in the Elementary School, as a pilot program, an after-school program that's being spearheaded by our Spanish immersion coordinator, Katie Cardinal, and Olga Grau as well, SI kindergarten teacher, and also Lily Vasquez, who's also worked in our district. They are now doing a session for both third and fourth graders, one at Clough and one at Memorial. And then after that 6-week rotation, they'll be doing it for K through 2. Right now we've got some very healthy numbers, in my opinion. We've got 24 students at Memorial, 9 at Clough, but for K through 2, we've got 23 at Memorial and 14 at Clough. So I know the 3 ladies, they will be doing some ongoing professional development with the team of 3, but also for the entire Spanish immersion team. And like I say in the background notes, it's very much a pilot. I think what they're going to do is they're going to see the data, get some feedback from the students, get some feedback from the parents who are involved, and then build it moving forward. Okay. My second piece is something that we're really excited about, and that is our students' artwork for the annual Youth Art Month exhibit, which is being held up in Boston. So I know Alice has worked really hard along with the entire art department here spearheading this. So Alice, if you could say a few words about this.
I'd love to. So we have, I'm happy to say that we have 23 pieces of artwork hanging in Boston, even as I speak. And it's at the State Transportation Building, which, I don't know if you know where that is, but if you get off at the Copley exit, go straight down Stewart, it's on the left. And it's a big, big display of about 700 pieces of art from around the state. It is hosted by the Massachusetts Art Education Association, and it's in honor of Youth Art Month, which actually takes place in March. So this exhibit started February 8th, and it's going to run through March 31st. The building is open from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And this coming Sunday, we're having a big family day celebration from 12 to 4. Pretty exciting. The art educators in Mendon-Upton are super excited to get the kids' work out in the community, and the children as well. Year after year, we do this every year, but year after year we're able to enter more pieces of artwork, and the kids come into Boston. It's a family day. It's a wonderful thing, and we're very proud of our students. Yeah. Any questions or anything? Mr.
It's a great
Designer.
I found out more tonight.
Wait, yeah.
Who's that kid? Who's that kid?
Yes. Outstanding art. There it is.
Yeah.
It is. Very good.
Yeah, and Melissa,
Yes.
that's your daughter.
That's
And
right.
Lee, I know your children have had art in the show or a similar show, yeah. So it's a great event. All right.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So I'll go from that, the pleasant, to maybe something that's not quite so pleasant. And I think it's a national issue, but I think this is something that we have to think about deeply and talk about on the local level. Saturday night, I was home and I was watching the Nevada caucus in South Carolina, primary results. Yes, I really need to get a life. And I was watching Donald Trump's victory speech. And he was doing his usual stick. We're gonna build the wall, and we're gonna make the wall huge, you know? And one of the things that he threw out was Common Core, it's gone. It's back to state control. And on one political side of the aisle, so to speak, that's very much a talking point. But I think we need to be cognizant that here in Massachusetts, there actually will be a ballot initiative in November to eliminate the Common Core state standards. Okay, it's technically the 2011 curriculum frameworks in ELA in mathematics. I think as far as a committee, Lee and Bill being here the longest, I can remember back in 2012, I think it was myself and Jane and Deb actually gave a pretty involved presentation on what the Common Core standards were all about, and how important they are and how well researched they are and how they really represent an evolution in the state's progression and really thinking deeply about how kids read, write, problem solve, process information, and so on. So, and not to completely be on a soapbox with this issue, but I think you'll find over the coming months, the other issues will get attention. To my knowledge, I think there's going to be 2 ballot initiatives regarding the legalization of marijuana. Call me crazy, but that'll probably get a little bit more attention and press than the Common Core standards are. But I think with regard to the life of this school district and the life of public education across the Commonwealth, this ballot initiative is extremely important. And I think it's incumbent upon this committee, and I think as a district, in putting factual information out there about this. I put in your packet and part of the background notes, some information from the State Department of Education as far as the whole vetting process, and the 2.5-year process of the research and development that went into these standards and the approval process here within Massachusetts. I know that the State Superintendent's Association very strongly has taken a position that if this ballot initiative were to pass and we would have to revert back to the old 2004 standards, it would be a significant step backwards as far as rigor and so on. I think also a part of the equation has to be just a very pragmatic one. I can say in the last 3 to 4 budget cycles alone, this district has invested, and this is a real conservative number, about $200,000 to $250,000 just in curriculum materials alone. Obviously, this committee was involved 18 months ago in approving our new literacy program, Reading Wonders. The cost just associated with that, $160,000 for a K-4 program that's aligned with these standards. Our writing curriculum, the Empower Writings curriculum. Not to mention, particularly at the elementary and middle school levels, the trade texts, or actually even at the high school, that have been purchased to align with these literacy standards. So, as Maureen would attest to as well, our focus vis-a-vis professional development, our focus on all of our curriculum activities, clearly the emphasis has been on the set of 2011 standards. So I think it's just important to put it out in the public domain, and to think about, as a committee, what can be done from an informational standpoint for our parents the closer we get to the general election in November.
So quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say this piece was to pass and we were to revert back to 2004, how would it impact quality of education in the today?
In my opinion, it would be a step backwards in the sense that 2004 standards are not as rigorous in that they don't ask to the degree for students to go deeper in their explaining and their problem solving and their synthesizing of information and so on. And I think the challenge, and I think our teachers are meeting this challenge magnificently, is changing their instruction, changing their assessments and what they're doing with the kids on a day-to-day basis to get them to that higher order thinking. So, do I think our teachers would adapt? Yes, but I think it would clearly be a step backwards.
So another way of saying that, it would actually reduce the, I'll call it competitiveness of our students in the collegiate atmosphere
Correct.
and kind of post-graduation situation. So what is the big driver towards people repealing this?
I think it's by and large, I think it's very much a political issue of that it is seen on the right as federal overreach. That if you recall, what really promulgated these standards was the Race to the Top initiative. So Race to the Top equals the Obama administration equals the Common Core state standards.
Okay.
And the irony is the Common Core state standards did not come from the Obama administration. They actually came from the National Council of Governors, who at the time they came out was chaired by Jeb Bush. So a good consortium of the Governors Association that thought up this consortium and having national standards was ironically Republican.
So but this ballot initiative is a state level ballot.
It is.
So when we had this conversation before, and keep me honest in terms of my recollection, my understanding is we had a real big challenge going from MCAS to Common Core because we were concerned that at the time we were in the process of revamping MCAS anyways and taking it to the next stage. And Common Core we kind of felt was in and of itself a little bit of a step back. And then my understanding is that they revised the Common Core, they revised the approach, it actually took on much of what we were going to do anyway in terms of the MCAS evolution.
The Massachusetts standards along with the California standards were the two states that were the largest drivers in developing the Common Core standards.
Okay.
So and some of the background notes and the information that I shared with you, I think there has been a group, and I think we talked about this last year, particularly out of the Pioneer Institute, that have put here in Massachusetts into the public domain that somehow the Common Core standards or the 2011 curriculum frameworks are less rigorous, less demanding than the previous 2004 Massachusetts standards.
Okay.
In my opinion, and I think the opinion of people who are in the know, the opinion of the State Superintendents Association, that's not accurate at all.
Okay.
And realize, again, this is very much a national conversation that's occurring. We see it occurring at the statewide level, but I think it's really important on a lot of fronts to have the conversation here within Mendon-Upton.
So what would it require? So let's say this was clearly, if it's to fail, we continue down the path we're going. If it was to pass, how would it change what we're doing from a curriculum perspective and the higher degree of standards we're putting into our curriculum every day, every week, every month? I wouldn't see that changing. Change it.
Tough question. We just have been spending the last 3 years rewriting all of our curriculum maps and guides to align to the new standards.
Mhm.
So it would take years to roll back to realign to old standards anyway, so it's not like the next day there'll be a shift, but ultimately, when it comes down to the assessments and what we need to do, there would be a realignment if we were forced to do that. I'm trying to,
Let me give a really sloppy analogy as I'm looking
That's okay.
at your laptop. You've got in front of you now a MacBook and I believe an iPhone, okay? The best analogy that I could give is I could say, okay, can you come, the next meeting that we have in March, I want you to come, Phil, with your BlackBerry and your IBM PS2 laptop, the ones that were like 8 inches thick.
Yes.
You could come and you could probably email off your BlackBerry and so on, but it would represent a step backwards.
I understand. Okay. Other questions, thoughts?
So we talk about like disseminating information to our two communities. How do you propose that we do something? Is it something that there could be a link to information
I
on
think we
Common
could have,
Core standards?
we could have information available about the standards and about the work. And I think we should use, particularly the closer we get into the fall, we've got some remarkably talented teachers, remarkably talented administrators within the district. And even if it's just a short 10-minute, 15-minute vignette of how have these new sets of standards changed your practice?
Mhm.
I think,
as an example, so at the Keys to Clough and at Memorial, so I did, presentation for parents on demystifying the Common Core. Because, out on Facebook, and you see like, these things all out there, and just kind of saying, trying to go through this is what the standards are all about. These are the main shifts that we've been doing in instruction, but I think even more than me, I think that was helpful for parents, and I tried to give them, strategies, but I think having teachers really highlight and talk about the differences and all the great things happening really kind of speaks to the power of our current standards. And I just try to inform, we talk about the Common Core, but really we're talking about our Massachusetts standards. We drove a lot of that Common Core, but it's really about, reverting our standards back many, many years. And I think that comes from a lot of just misinformation that's out there, so.
Well, I don't think people realize that you're actually taking 2 steps back, not 1. And I think people don't understand kind of where the Common Core has gone and the development of it in terms of the last 4 to 6 years and kind of how it's been influenced by the different pieces that have come out of this state in California, as you said. And I think maybe what would be beneficial is to take maybe the presentation that you have with demystifying it, and maybe we can put that presentation out there, similar to what we did on demystifying the budgeting process and understanding how we do state budgeting in terms of education. So I think that may be helpful to at least give people a better informed approach towards how it is. And
Sure.
we can put it in plain English. I think sometimes we've continued to use the term Common Core, but it's evolved in its meaning over the last 6 years. And while I'm not one for the federal government necessarily driving our standards, specifically in our state, where we've actually had tremendous amount of progress beyond what the federal government has had, I think at a state level, I think it's important for us to continue to move forward.
I think a lot of times when you talk about the Common Core, it's very abstract. People
Exactly.
don't really know what it is. I certainly didn't know what it was 3 years ago
Mhm.
and have become more informed from just conferences and your information that you share with us, Joe. But I think that most parents and most people need it to be demystified because it's just a very abstract concept. And a lot of times, like when we said we adopted the Common Core, I just said, okay, this is our new state standards, 4 years ago, whatever, when I became aware. So it just seemed like, but then I have heard a lot of back and forth with teachers who like it, not necessarily in our district, but just in general. Teachers who like it, teachers who don't like it, whether it's a step forward, whether it's a step back. So I think there was a lot of controversy surrounding it. But what I've learned about it personally in the past years seems like a giant step forward.
Can I say for people watching that Maureen's presentation on demystifying the Common Core is on my website at the Keys to Clef,
Okay.
so people can click on
Click
that
on it.
if they have questions.
That's great.
Just like I'm Marie Brigham, I teach fourth grade at Clough, and I think in Massachusetts we have been so far ahead of the game. Yeah, and so I think when you hear things online from other parents in other states, the Common Core has really rocked their world and changed the way that they do business in the classroom. But for us, I mean, like for example, in math, some of the standards have changed. It's really been like some tweaks along the way, and then in addition, the state adopted the Common Core, but also looked at it and looked at a couple of things that were missing and added standards to make sure that that rigor was there and was up to our level. So our version of Common Core is slightly different than other states. So there's that. I think in ELA, that as teachers, that's where we've really realized a big shift. But you hear about math on Facebook all the time. But, I think it's minor changes in math.
Other thoughts, questions?
No, I think getting the information out is a great idea, especially if it's a valid initiative.
All right. Well, then on that,
Okay.
we'll move on to administrator comments.
Okay, first we've got Jan Gallagher here to share some great news about the Clough robotics team.
It's just so nice because it goes nicely with the arts. So when we talk about the STEAM, how our goal has been, our initiative has been to try to do more with the students on STEAM, science, technology, engineering, math, and art. We do a lot in the academics during the day, but we also want to get kids involved before and after school to make it part of their life and to, get them really thinking, because with the new standards, if you go to the next slide, the next generational standards, you can see, again, it ties into what Mrs. Brigham was saying with the depth of our Common Core standards, but it's more about asking questions, investigating, really taking it to the next step. And we're working hard on that. And this past September, we were able to, through a youth grant, able to get the VEX robotics into our schools. We brought 2 kits and got them into for our after-school enrichment programs. And I have 2 staff members, Cora Fier and Denise DeRosa, who have done a fabulous job. But I want to give kudos to the inspiration, the children, and I thank you for allowing me to speak on the success and the inspiration of these children, one of which is, the Orb's child, so we got this double dipping up here today with art and the science. But their group, Vicky Crescente and her husband, John Luca, have been very active with the robotics. She's actually on my school council, and she's the one who brought this idea. We were talking about with our school goals, how can we do more for our children? How can we get the girls more involved? How can we, so we do a lot of after-school programs and before with math classes and the art club, and we wanted something more. So she had started talking to us about the robotics, and she had a group of students who happened last year to be 2nd graders, and they started on the robotics, and they meet weekly, and they have to do everything. I mean, it's problem solving, it's designing, it's programming. Katie Jordan does a lot of after-school program in classes on coding, and this is what they're working on. Very innovative, very hands-on, critical thinking, communicating with each other, collaborating. So these students, I think it's on the next one, they actually competed back last year, and they didn't move on to qualify, but they started very involved in this. And I asked them to come to the second grade, because they were in second grade at the time. One of our standards is also communicating, getting public speaking and going up there. So I figured they'd feel comfortable talking with their peers. So they spoke to the second graders about what they're doing and what the programming is about. And at the end, I used it as a time to like survey them, to say, like, would you be interested if we could get robotics in our school? And they were like overwhelmingly like, yeah. And that motivated us to go for the grant. So this year, this group of students, and I have their names on the next one, but they had a tournament at the Boston University Academy. And they won 3 awards. So they got the programming award, the robot skills award, and then the STEM research. So 2 of it had to do with the programming, the coding, and actually getting their machines to work and have the brain, focus on where it's gonna go, pick up the blocks and move it. And they're competing against many other teams. So they won 3 awards. The third one, which was the STEM research, is they had to choose a topic and they had to do research. And their topic was great, because I called my mother afterwards and I told her she was wrong all these years, because it said, does coffee stunt your growth? And so what we did is if you go to the next one, these are the students: Max Crisante, Caleb Clark, Izzy Nicholson, Avery Orr, Connor Gleason, Gavin K. Cooter, Dylan McAzu, and Dylan Moore. I asked them if they would come and present, and this time, we talk about growing, feeling more confident about what they're doing and passionate about it. They presented to every student grades K through 4. So I had grade 2 and 3, and you can go to the next one too. So they got up on stage and they first presented to all the second and third graders. So you're talking about 165, 175 kids. They showed them how to work. They talked about their experience. They then they did kindergarten and first grades, and then the last group was 4th. So for children third grade to get up there and to be able to communicate this, and they had these kids, like everybody, with like they had question time. I actually had to shut them down because there were so many questions. Every kid had their hand raised. They were asking about it. They were excited. But it's these kids working together that got the kids excited. And our enrichment classes have been full. We want to do more. We're hoping to, get some funds so we can actually do more of the competitions. So they had the competition at BU, and the next one was actually this past Saturday. And unbelievable, they won. And I just got this information Saturday night because I was like, Vicki, tell me. I was trying to go myself. That they won. They're called the Mighty Minions, by the way, and they won for this one. They won the programming award, and they came in 4th and 18th. And because they won the programming award, they're now qualified for the Vex World, which is in Kentucky, April 20th to 23rd. And that's like, last year they had over 800 different teams that participated. But this is like the universe is going here. I mean, no, it is. You look on, it'll say the universe. All over the world, these kids are going, and our kids won. Now it goes, the category they were in was in from grades 3 to 8. So they were the youngest there. And the ones who beat them were the middle school Hopkinton group. But they beat all these kids older. I mean, 4. It's incredible in the program award. So hopefully they go to Kentucky. It's like $850 just to register. So if anybody has any innovative ideas of how to, cover that, that would be great. But it is such an experience for them. But they're the reason we have the enrichment program. They're the reasons that Alice has also tapped onto this and has just ordered a couple of robotics because they're going to bring it up to middle school, right?
As a matter of fact, we now have robotics through enrichment at Memorial, Misco, and we bought Clough another robot.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, because it's so great. It's such a great thing.
So I feel like it's just moving us forward, but we're empowering the children. And, we could have told them it was great, but for the kids to hear it from the kids. And, I just want to thank the Basantis have been great and the parents who have supported these kids. And I just couldn't be prouder to see them up there on stage. I couldn't have done that. I mean, it was amazing. So thank you for letting me share it with you. I'm very, very proud of them.
It's great.
Cool. And one of the little girls got off the bus today, and she gave me this book, which says, "It's good to be a minion." She's one of the winners, so I'm gonna hold this forever, because that's really sweet.
So when is the competition?
It's April 20th to the 23rd in Kentucky.
Kentucky. Wow.
Kentucky, because that's where we all wanna go.
Yeah. I'm like Kentucky.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll get to go, because what an experience
Are
for
they
them.
bidding on it? Do you know, Jan? Like, are they gonna do some fundraising?
They were trying to think of, I told Vicki I'd sit with her, try to come up with some fundraising activities, because I just think it's not just these 8 children. I mean, I really think that our whole school, I mean, the kids were walking around after they presented, they were like, good luck, they were asking them questions when I had to stop them, they kept asking questions at lunch, at recess. I mean, they were like celebrities, and they wanted to do it. And so I think that them going further, I said it on my announcements today, and the kids are high-fiving them, and it's awesome. And it's just something that we don't normally do for acknowledgement, so to have something like this that's new in the area, and for us to already be ahead of
Excelling
so
at it.
many schools that aren't doing it is huge. So, thank you.
Okay, and then second, we have our Director of Technology Integration, Anthony Entrano, who's here to talk about some of the programming he's run recently, I think, for the holidays, right, Anthony? For our parents.
Yeah.
And getting the word out there.
Yeah, so last year we started, do you mind if this? Last year we started doing these kind of parent workshops where we invited parents to come in to hear about some of the things that we're doing with technology in the classroom. Last year we offered them kind of twice a month, once in the morning and once in the evening time, and we found that they were kind of both kind of attended in the same amount of attendance at each of the sessions. So this year when I started designing the workshops, which started in December, I decided to have them during the school day so we could have a lot of teacher participation, a lot of student participation, where we'd have like panels of teachers and students kind of talking about their experiences with it, and guidance staff and administration involved too. So since December, we've had 3 of these. I call them Cafe Digitale, just to kind of, there's coffee involved, so, and digital coffee doesn't really sound so great, so I took my Italian roots and changed it to Cafe Digitale. And so we had 3 of these meetings. The first one was a student panel of some of our 8th grade students at MISCO, talking about their experiences with technology and how it's kind of changed their educational experience and what's better about it, what's tricky about it, things like that. So they were really great. And what I've done with each of these events is recorded them. So the first 2 events are audio recordings, so you can listen to the panel discussions for each of those. And then the second one is audio with some visual slides and some kind of like a screencast to kind of show you where to go and talking about iPads and whatnot. So these are all available on the One-to-One Learning website. So you can click on these and listen to them. So like I said, the December 10th one was a student panel on technology and working for them. And then on January 14th, we were able to get some counselors from the high school and some guidance counselors from the middle school to talk about distraction, multitasking, and time management, and how, from their perspective, working with students and parents, how using the iPads more has, again, been the kind of pros and cons to it, what's been helpful and what's been a little bit tricky with it too. So that was a nice conversation to have. There's a lot of back and forth between the parents and the guidance counselors to learn how, what tools are available, what tools they're suggesting to students, what tools the teachers are suggesting to students to help keep them focused and on task and organized. And then this past one was about accessing info through iParent. So we had Curtis, who's the district data administrator, come in and kind of do a walkthrough of how to sign up your student for iParent, how to sign up you as a parent for iParent. And then we also talked about the different levels of access, how students are able to access iStudent to have information about their grades and attendance record and all sorts of kind of information about their life at school. So again, so like I posted these podcasts, screencasts, whatever you'd like to call it, up here on the One-to-One Learning website. And then we've got 3 more planned for the rest of the year. The next one, actually, we're going to change locations. We're going to be up at Nipmuc and have some of the NIMUC staff students talk with me and Jen Lee, who's the technology teacher at the high school, about the importance of maintaining a positive digital footprint and what are some tips and techniques that students can do to kind of help make sure that they have a good positive digital footprint out there, and how that can be helpful in terms of applying for scholarships and college admissions and things like that. And then 2 more after that, one on social media, and then I plan to get into town librarians in on May 12th to talk about accessing library books through the iPad and what services are available through our town libraries too. So it's been a good positive kind of outreach thing, I feel like, for the community members. I know, Diane, you've come in and joined us. Not as well attended, I feel like, as I would hope, but putting this in, it's harder in the middle of the day for parents to get there, I know that, so that's why I think it's important to record the sessions and put the information up on the website so people can access it when it's convenient for them. So something definitely will continue. I've also made myself available to the PTOs and plan to go to the Clough PTO meeting at the next one to talk about the iPad use in middle school, especially fourth grade parents are have some questions and want to learn more about it. And then we'll provide more information too at the Step Up Night in May, I think, too, if that's right. So, any questions or anything about that?
I think it'll be great to see, it's good to see that we're starting to put these pieces out there. It'll be great to see more, specifically as we get the technology strategy kind of out there and in play. When we start to work through that, because I know that will kind of ramp us to the next level. And, it's good to understand that. The question I have is, when you look at this and you look at kind of the information that starts to get shared, it'd be great to be able to track, are we seeing greater adoption? Are we seeing greater usage? Are we seeing greater effectiveness of the technology as it's being there? And if we have measures around that, being able to track some of those things, so as we get either on an annual or a semi-annual kind of basis, we have an ability to kind of understand the trends that are going on and understand the impact that it's having. That would be a great thing.
Absolutely, and I think that's part of the discussions that we've been having as part of the technology plan revision process. That's been one of the key things we've talked about, is always taking kind of a step back and assessing how things are going and how they can be improved and how it can be more helpful to the parents, teachers, and the students to make it as effective as possible.
That's great.
Great. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, we have our high school administrative team here to share some news that's very, very positive and really long overdue recognition. So I'm turning it over to John.
Thank you. I know you have a packed agenda, so thank you for the chance to be on the agenda tonight. I'm not sharing new news. I know it's been covered in the Crier and covered in the Milford Daily News. And I've heard about it. And every meeting I'm at, I mention it. It's one of the first things I do because I'm so proud and excited for Mary Ann Moran, who's been named the State Assistant Principal of the Year. Steal James' term. It should be the universe. I worked with Mary Ann for 15-ish years or so, about that much time. Knew her first as a teacher and then as a department chairperson. And for the last 5 years, we've worked together in sharing the leadership of Nipmuc Regional. This is a real source of pride for me because I get to see every day the phenomenal work that she does for our students, our teachers, our school. As a classroom teacher, as a department chair, some of the qualities that distinguish her were her capacity to have high expectations for all kids. If you were in her room, you were going to work and you knew it and you liked it, or at least you acted like you liked it. She had the capacity to take really complex concepts and make them easily understandable in different ways for different people. And in working with different kids, she always went above and beyond in order to meet their needs. Those traits, I think, have translated wonderfully to her role as an associate principal. She's gone from having an impact on the 100 kids she would see in math classes every year to now having an impact on the 620 kids we have in the school. And I think important too, having an impact on other administrators across the state, which has impacts on their kids. She's really become a statewide leader and a respected source. If you're looking to steal a good idea, you talk to Mary Ann Moran. In our school specifically, the work with one-to-one learning, the implementation of their advisory program, our work to bring RTI, our STEM programs, humanities programs. She's been an absolute partner and a leader in all of those efforts. I say if it's good at Nipmuc, it's got her fingerprints on it. And she's been such a tireless supporter of kids and teachers, and I'm happy for her to get this award. It's been a real privilege for me in my career to work with other recipients of this award, so I hold it in very high esteem, from Maureen Cohen, who's a national finalist for Assistant Principal of the Year for Massachusetts, my mentor, Joan Scribner, who's an Assistant Principal of the Year, Pat Larkin, whose position I took when I was an AP at NIMOC, and Paul Daigle, who's Principal of the Year. I've worked with some exceptionally talented administrators, and Mary Ann is certainly a key part of that group. So proud to recognize her on behalf of our kids and her teachers. I offer her not only our thanks, but our sincere congratulations. She's headed off to Florida to the NASSP conference at the end of the week, where she will be formally recognized and hopefully bringing back like a t-shirt. I went to Florida and all I got my principal this t-shirt.
Yeah, right.
No, but not the joke. She's a phenomenal partner to work with. I feel privileged every day and happy to recognize you.
Thank you. Thank you, and thanks to all of you. It has been an absolute privilege receiving this award. I do a lot of work beyond the walls of NITMOC at the state level and working with other assistant principals and principals, and that's really exciting part of this. I didn't always know that administration was going to be on my career path, honestly. I've been in education for 16 years. And actually started in elementary ed and Spanish, and then went curriculum and instructional technology, and then went middle school math, and then went high school math, and then went high school administration. So it's been quite a journey, I would say, in the last 16 years. I'm very thankful that I have found this home at NITMOC and in Mendon-Upton. I think that they're two amazing communities to be a part of, not only to work in, but also to live in. So I'm thankful for that opportunity to work here. I'm thankful to have John as a mentor and a leader at NITMOC, and to work with some outstanding educators and leadership across the district and NITMOC as well. I always say that when you surround yourself with the best, that you can be your best, and I feel like everyone here has helped me get to that point, and it's a reflection of the work that's taking place in the community, truly. Nothing I do at school or in my job is alone. It's always for the kids and the kids' best interest at heart. But it's a team effort. Nothing takes place in isolation in education. So I'm thrilled to be headed off to Florida to leave this place behind for a couple of days. I will make sure all my emails are forwarded to John. So whatever you need, he's got it for a couple of days. No, but truly, all of the assistant principals of the year from all the states across the country are going down there. And they design custom professional development for us, as well as being recognized. But it's truly an opportunity to network with those other people and bring back kind of the best ideas to the district to benefit teachers and educators, but also just to benefit our kids and figure out what's going on across the country. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate this, and it's a great honor. So thank you.
Least you could do is bring an umbrella back from one of the jokes.
All right.
All right, moving on. Superintendent Evaluation Subcommittee.
Okay, so we met a couple weeks ago in the process of superintendent evaluation. It follows a pretty regular cycle every year. There's a self-assessment that Joe does, and then he does some analysis, some goal setting, begins the implement, shares the plan with the committee, implements the plan, and then we have our mid-cycle review, which is what we just did about 2.5 weeks ago. And so it's just a step in the path, and he's moving right along. He sets goals for student learning, professional practice, as well as district improvement goals, and then we kind of just track his progress, and then we'll come together again during the summer, and then present back to the greater public on the evaluation for the year in September. So it's all moving right along very smoothly.
Okay. So then the next order of business is the task force for school committee outreach.
Me again. So we met last week, Pam, Dorothy, and I, to start a little bit of public outreach to the Mendon-Upton communities. Really to just kind of start some investigation to see how the public wants to interface with the school committee, to receive information, to provide information, to have questions answered, And so we had our first meeting with Melissa Orr, was the only one who attended, but it was rescheduled. So we have another meeting coming up on March 15th, Tuesday, March 15th. It's going to be at the Mendon Senior Center. So we've just scheduled that, and we're going to try to get the word out there. So if anybody from the public wants to join in, it will be the three of us representing again, and just trying to question the public to see what kinds of things we could be doing that would be helpful to disseminate information to them, or if they need to come to us, what's the best tool for them to have access to us. So first steps, and we'll see how it all goes. So like I said, March 15th, Tuesday, March 15th, 7 o'clock at the Mendon Senior Center will be our next meeting.
There will be refreshments.
And we will
There
serve
will be
refreshments, because we
refreshments.
figured if you bring food, they will come. Hopefully.
All right. That's great to hear. So the next step then, moving right along, presentation of fiscal year 2017. Mass budget.
Are you adverse to just skipping over and going to the approval of the field trips while the Apple TV is rebooting?
Not averse to it at all. Let's do the approval of the Nipmuc field trips.
Great.
Softball scrimmage to North Smithfield High School.
I gave you homework on a lot of homework. Thank you for all the reading and reviewing. Got it. 4 trips we're proposing, 4 out-of-state trips. Sorry, Jay.
That's okay.
Softball trip to North Smithfield. We have a club and activities trip for the Model UN. We have also a curriculum trip to Ellis Island and our second Dominica trip through Operation Wallacea. So I know I gave you a lot of information. I didn't know if you had questions for me, or are you looking for clarification about any of the trips? As you look it over, I'll say I'm really thankful for teachers who are coming up with these plans and organizing these trips. I think they're really valuable learning experiences. The Ellis Island trip is brand new for us. Great opportunity to get our Latin American experience students combined with 21st century skills students, taking actually the principles from World Challenge, which is another set of trips that you've approved, and applying them to authentic real world learning experience, kind of thing that Chris talked about at the beginning.
John, what is the Ellis Island trip?
So the Ellis Island trip is the spring trip for 21st century skills, and they're cooperating with Latin American experience students. So in the fall, the kids went to Block Island. It's a small cohort, about 12 or 13 kids in 21st century skills. What they do is they plan a trip, plan the budget, transportation, how they're going to spend their time, apply some of the soft skills of contacting people in advance in order to make arrangements. Everyone has a leadership role in organizing the trip, and then they carry it out. And so what we're doing is, it was such a success in the fall, we're taking the spring trip where they're headed to Ellis Island. They're exploring different cultures, and they're combining with Latin American experience students who have been focusing on getting outside the walls of Nipmuc in order to connect with people who are native Spanish speakers, in order to extend that curriculum to some real life learning. So it's a natural opportunity. I have 2 world language teachers who saw this chance to team up, and I think what we have here is a template for the kinds of trips and learning activities that we'd like to see expanded moving forward.
So it's a one-day trip.
These are all one-day trips
Okay.
except for the Dominica, which is the same as the last time. It's a couple weeks.
Thank
2-week trip.
And I think the Model UN, is this the first year?
Model UN has a long history at
Oh,
Nipmuc,
yeah.
but it died out for a while.
Okay,
We have a new teacher with us in the history department who, from the very beginning, was passionate about
Oh, very
reviving
good.
that program. We've got kids who are interested.
it's an excellent program.
It is, and there are a lot of competitions around. Tried to find one that was an easy access point for beginners, because their kids haven't participated, and also not a huge price point. Some of them can be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm not familiar with Model UN. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure, Model UN is an opportunity where you really engage in civics learning and applying your history learning. So what you do is you attend a conference where you take on the role of a country or a diplomat, and then in a UN setting have the responsibility for making your case on behalf of your country. You're assigned that country upon entry, so you have a chance to do research, collaborate with others. It's a real chance to put civics and history learning to work on a real issue.
To add to it, you're given various different topics that are relevant to the current time period.
Okay, so can you give
And
an
you get-
example of a topic?
You could be like global warming.
Okay.
So maybe you're the island of Fiji and have to deal with the rise in Pacific. And so you deal with global warming and you're part of it. You have to work within a committee to pass resolutions and you learn about the process, how the UN actually works. And you learn about the different committees that are there that actually do different aspects. It might be something maybe involved with World Bank and financing if there's certain areas and maybe micro lending and some other things. So it's a very interesting experience.
You were a Model UN student.
I did go to the
Yes,
Model UN.
it leaves you with that passionate
Normally-
feeling about it.
But normally in an election year, we didn't do the Model UN, we did the, I'm trying to remember what the other one was, but it was kind of geared towards the kind of the election. And so, you would come as a state delegate and you deal with states, with the issues involving like going from the Republican to the Democratic National Convention.
The history department too, in a similar trip that's not on the docket today, is planning a trip to the Kennedy Institute, where they have a model of the Senate, somebody signs a model of the Senate, kids come in, take the position, act as diplomats, argue a position, and then hopefully pass a bill or not by the end of the session. So those are the kinds of experiences we're looking to give our kids. One point I should mention, and I know I noted this on your information sheet, the Dominica trip, part of what the kids need to do through the advisor, Jen Field, is book a flight. So the cost was estimated around $3,200, but it's all dependent upon the flight cost, and that can vary. So they have a range that they provided and what an international flight typically goes for. But I would say $3,200 to $3,500 is probably a pretty fair estimate.
Great. So can we vote on these as just one big package of trips?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion to approve the Nipmuc Regional proposed out-of-state field trips?
Make a motion to approve the Nipmuc Regional proposed out-of-state field trips. Second.
Any further discussion?
I'll make it all four.
All right,
Chris's 2 cents.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, back to the
All
budget.
right, the Apple gods were good to me tonight. Okay, here's where we are right now with regard to the first pass of the FY17 budget. Both the budget subcommittee and myself and Jay and the admin team have been hard at work on this, really since about Thanksgiving. And this is where we are right now. As we do every year, there's goals that are really the foundation of our budget process. First and foremost is to maintain the forward momentum, and I'll talk about some of the specifics of our forward momentum as articulated in our strategic plan. Secondly, as always, this will always be a goal to find savings wherever we can and to maximize those efficiencies. And you'll see very shortly, I think we've done that very successfully in this initial proposal. And third, to look at this beyond just FY17 and have a multi-year plan. So we're in the state of the district is very, very strong right now. And first and foremost, it's about our people, our staff, our community, all of our stakeholders really working together. And I think, it would be an understatement to say that last spring's overrides were really a watershed moment for this district and putting us really on the right track. But if you look at the last 3 or 4 budget cycles that coincide with our strategic plan, you see all of those bullet points of how this district, in a very strong, deliberate fashion, has moved forward. We're in a very good place with regard to our class sizes. We've implemented universal free full-day kindergarten. We've got a lot of supports in our place for our students through the inclusion model, and most recently the provision of and restoration of literacy teachers at the elementary level. We've talked tonight about things that we're doing with regard to STEM at all levels. And we've restored and gotten a lot of programs, athletics, extra and co-curricular, back to the place where they really need to be. And also, you know, kind of tying in where Anthony, we made a very significant investment in technology in this district. So we've accomplished quite a bit in the last 3 to 4 budget cycles within this district through the generous support of our community. What we've achieved, I think we have 4 very high-performing schools. You know, we recently posted and sent out to parents links to something known as the annual school report cards, something that the Department of Ed requires us to do. If you look at them, and again, I think sometimes we're our own worst critics, and we tend to hyper-focus on what our deficiencies are, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think you know that's part of the cycle of continuous improvement. But if you look in the continuum of how we rank statewide, Clough and Memorial are in the 81st percentile statewide, Misco Hill's in the 79th percentile, and Nipmuc's in the 84th percentile when you compare us looking at our MCAS and our accountability scores statewide. So we're doing extremely well. We've talked about the past. You know, we found out right after the holidays that Nipmuc is a commendation high school, one of only 13 in the entire state, due to not only high achievement, but also high sustained growth on MCAS. Also, within the last 3 years, Nipmuc has been honored as an AP honor roll school. I know John has spoken extensively about the tremendous growth. I think, John, it's at least threefold as far as the number of students taking AP courses, but also achieving qualifying scores. And then we also continue to celebrate the many successes that our Spanish immersion program enjoys district-wide. And I know Jan and I had an opportunity not too long ago to be have Clough, a celebration at Clough, being the National School of the Year, as recognized by the Consulate General of Spain. So there's, you know, those are just a few things without a lot of deep thought as far as the many successes we've had within our district. And again, it comes back to all of the stakeholders working together and the remarkable support that we've had from the community in supporting our annual budget. So in building the budget every year, what's the first thing that you've got to look at? You've got to look at enrollment. Okay, so 2 lines of data here. First, you see the enrollment, the official October 1st enrollment. This year is 2,322 students. We're projecting 56 fewer students for next year. And again, it's that trend of birth data. Okay, so next year's kindergartners will be, were born in 11. And I'll show you the chart in a few slides. I think I've got it down to 13, not bad. But we're seeing a spike as far as a downward spike of babies born in 10 versus 11. But there could be a couple things to offset that. As we do in determining our local assessments, we break down the percentage of how many kids are from Mendon, how many kids are from Upton. Upton's at roughly 55%, Mendon's at roughly 45%. We've been having this year swing from year to year. This, for FY17, Upton is up 1%, Mendon's down 1%, okay? So what do we have in this budget? This is, in my opinion, a very modest conservative budget of $32,344,137. It represents about a 1.6% increase over this current year. It does maintain level services, and by level services, I mean keeping the existing programs and services that we have in place this year, okay, maintaining consistent class sizes. But as I'll talk about briefly, there are also some smart targeted investments built in. Again, things that are aligned with our strategic plan. So what are some of the operational budget drivers? Obviously, the first two things you looked at are what are the salaries and what are the benefits. That's where oftentimes some of your largest drivers are. Next year will mark the third year of contracts with all 5 of our associations. The cost of living adjustment is 1.5%. So if you were to take all of our associations and include salary increases, it translates to about 143,000, which is less than 1%. Keep in mind that also takes into account, we've got right now 4 retirees. 2 of the positions will be replaced and 2 will not be. So it lowers your salary line, but the overall increase is about 143,000. Our largest driver is going to be health insurance. Right now, we've budgeted it at about a 10% increase, which translates to a little under 400,000, 382,735. We also, for the second straight year, have a fairly significant increase in our assessment from the Worcester County Retirement Association. Those are for our employees that are not part of the state retirement system. But offsetting some of that, at least we've got a 28,000 decrease in what we're budgeting for unemployment. Our transportation costs are very reasonable. We are in the second year of a 2-year rollover on our busing contract for regular transportation. So that's a hair under about a $30,000 increase, or 1.95%. We have overall a decrease in special ed transportation and also a decrease in student services, largely by some projected decrease in out-of-district tuition. We've got some nice efficiency, some nice savings in the area of energy in our building and grounds lines. We're looking at roughly about $57,000 decrease due to our net metering agreement and our solar agreement going into place. And then we've locked in for oil for Misco Hill at, what is it, Jay, about $1.71 a gallon. So that translates to about 24,000 in just that line alone. And kind of offsetting it, but I think it's a smart investment, is an additional investment of $10,000 in field maintenance, specifically looking at reseeding and additional fertilizing and upkeep of fields both here at Misco and also at the high school. Can we get some additional money into the technology line too? All right, hold on. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go old school.
So we'll try, Joe, I have that mine, let me see if I can get it up there.
Yeah, that'd be great. But can you connect? For some reason I'm not connecting.
It's actually here on mine. Let's see.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm back.
You're back, never mind then.
Just taking a break.
Cause I could actually use the hard wire, really old school.
That's what I was gonna do. Okay, so another driver technology, speak of the devil. So this is kind of a continuation of, and I just delineated what some of our major expenditures are in technology. We're in a place now as far as the district where the split is about 65-35 as far as 65% of the iPads now are district owned and 35% are owned by parents. So kind of keeping that game plan of continued support of district-owned tablets, planning for a class, we anticipate probably by 17-18 will be at 100% ownership of all tablets. We also have continuation of our smartboard leases for MISCO for the math classrooms and also all at Clough and Memorial. And then also refreshing our desktop and laptop lease through Hewlett-Packard. All of our teacher workstations now and also computer labs are 5 years old. So we will be refreshing those during the summer months. So that's built into this budget as well. As far as textbook and instructional supplies, right now we've got a fairly large committee of elementary and middle school teachers looking at a new mathematics textbook series, K through 6. Ones that are aligned with the 2011 standards. Wow, everything's just coming back to earlier agenda items. So we've got an amount, about $83,000 budgeted for that, and we hope to, within the next couple of months, come before the committee with a recommendation for your approval of a new K through 6 math program. We also have an additional $10,000 investment for some hands-on science materials, some kits to be used at the elementary level. And keep in mind that we had a fairly large chunk of money over the last couple of years for the Reading Wonders program and all the supplemental materials. So actually the overall textbook line district-wide amongst the 4 schools is about $82,000 less than this current fiscal year. So you can see there the total expenditures right now in this first pass budget are about $505,000 additional than the current adopted budget this year. And you can see the major cost centers. That's the way that they're identified. And again, the largest driver, if you look under fixed charges, that 418, that represents the health insurance and also the Worcester County assessment. As far as our anticipated revenue, what we do is we use the set of numbers that we have right now, which is the governor's budget, which is known as the House 1 budget. And right now in Governor Baker's budget, there's an additional $20 per student, which translates to $55,695. The regional transportation amount is flat, so it's an additional very, very small amount. It's about $15,000, but it's a flat reimbursement rate of 66%. And there's a slight improvement in our charter reimbursement for the simple reason that we've got less Mendon and Upton kids going to the 2 charter schools. So the total increase in state aid is about $93,000. Now, as far as the local assessments, a little bit of a fly in the ointment here. And the fly in the ointment is there's a fairly dramatic difference in the minimum local contribution to Upton versus Mendon. It's approximately 200,000 more to Upton than it is for Mendon. Realize minimum local contribution, we have no control of that whatsoever. That's something that the state dictates to us, okay? So between the two communities, it's an additional 511,852. So, and we'll discuss this more in depth at the hearing, at the open budget hearing on March 14th. But realize the minimum local contributions are driven by a lot of factors. They're driven by student enrollment within the regional school district, but also student enrollment at BVT. And also another factor is how quickly each community is progressing towards its target share. If you recall, during the override campaign, target share was a significant issue. This data that we have indicates that Mendon has more students going to BVT, relatively speaking, than Upton does this year, because Upton's BVT assessment actually went down, Mendon's went up. It also indicates that Mendon, by a slight factor, is progressing closer to its target share than Upton is. So those are two key factors that are determining the disparity in the minimum local contribution increase. If you recall, last fiscal year, Upton's MLC increase was only something like 34,000, whereas Mendon's was a hair under 200,000. So it varies from year to year. Phil, I'm
Does the
sorry.
distribution though of the student population actually impact this as well, I thought? So the fact is, last year Mendon was up a percent, Upton was down a percent, this year it's the reverse. That doesn't come into play in
MLC
MLC.
at all. It's all based on per capita income. It's based on, how close they are to target share. It's a whole different set of formulas that really doesn't have much to do with enrollment. It is by student, but the numbers there don't skew it enough.
And our third source of revenue is district. Instead of allocating 350,000 from E&D or excess and deficiency, we're projecting allocating 250,000 due to our present balance. It was certified in the fall at about 780 or so. So again, keeping that reasonable rainy day fund in the event that we had a substantial expense. So where we're anticipating revenue right now, again, right now matches the 1.59% increase at an additional 505,000. And again, the biggest piece is the disparity of an additional 163,000 from Mendon and an additional 348,000 from Upton. So if you look in your background notes, and I think I also presented them as a handout, these slides just represent what's on page 3, just kind of breaking down the projected revenue by all the specific line items in state aid and our assessments to Mendon, and also our assessments to Upton. I think as you can see, is the trend that we've had at least over the last 2 or 3 fiscal cycles, debt service has been actually decreasing. So at this point, as we usually are, we still have some variables both on the expenditure and the revenue sides. The biggest one is the health insurance. We always go very much on the conservative side as far as budgeting at least initially 10%. That could change either way. And we've had some challenges as far as some of the claims. So we're still in the process of trying to work with our agent in the negotiation process with Harvard Pilgrim Health. We strongly believe that the Baker budget represents definitely the floor of where we'll be. If last year is any indication, we probably will do better in the House and the Senate budgets. The House budget coming out in April and the Senate budget in May. Probably slightly better on Chapter 70. And hopefully there can be a commitment to get regional transportation at least up to that 80% reimbursement rate. We still have some out-of-district tuitions that we're looking at. We've got some students who conceivably will be graduating. So things like that will finalize hopefully by April. And then we've got the issue of kindergarten enrollment, which is ongoing right now, both at Clough and Memorial. And just to show you, and what we get from NESDEC, who does our enrollments every year, is one of many graphs that looks like this. As you can see, along the horizontal or x-axis, you can see years in 5-year spans. So the number on the top represents the child's birth, and the number on the bottom years represents year of enrollment. So that darker kind of blue turquoise chart represents the number of live births in Mendon-Upton from 2000 to, what's the last year, 2013?
Yeah.
And then the line above it represents how many kids actually enrolled, Mendon-Upton kids enrolled at Clough and Memorial 5 years after they were born. So you can see it's not exactly a perfect matching of the trend. So NESDEC's guidance to the district is, if you were to look at a continuum of 10, 15 years worth of data, you generally end up with 20 additional kids enrolling versus how many were born 5 years prior. So if you look at what happens from 2010, this year's kindergartners, to 2011, you see a jump downward, okay? We've seen that in the past. It doesn't always necessarily follow the trend line. If you look at the data for 2009, 2013, you see from 07 to 08, it dipped way down. And then what actually happened to the kindergarten enrollment actually trended slightly upward. So we've got the live birth data, but then we also have a fairly substantial sized housing development going in Upton. We also have some new construction in Mendon. So it's still playing out. I'm confident we'll definitively know around April 15th or so what exactly our kindergarten numbers will look like, but it's still very much in play. So, it really comes down to this. I think we've been very successful in budgeting, building a sound budget that supports our strategic plan. And I think it really comes down to the vision of having a district that's known for excellence, innovation, and that cycle of continuous improvement. I'm very confident that this very conservative budget right now at 1.59% continues that forward momentum, continues the excellence, the innovation, and the cycle of continuous improvement. So some key upcoming dates. That first one might be in play with regard to locking in a rate. Again, we've got a few things to resolve with regard to some of the claims. So hopefully to have a favorable percentage that we can lock in FY17. We've got our open budget hearing coming up, 3 weeks from tonight on the 14th. And then you see the dates for our town meetings and so on. So it's very challenging at this time of the year. You know, you don't have all of the data. I had the opportunity to present this to the multi-board on Thursday night. And I think both communities are still kind of in a wait and see type approach to see how the revenue numbers come out. So does anybody have any questions on any of that?
With that, I think I just have one maybe point to make, and that is, you know, when you look at our budget right now and the $500,000 increase that you're talking about, you know, the majority of that increase is really driven from the insurance line.
Absolutely.
And the health insurance and the retirement insurance of almost, you know, $430,000 that's there. So I think that's a significant impact that we haven't seen in the past. Clearly, I know, you know, the work that Jay, you're doing in terms of negotiating with our agents and so forth is good. So we'll hopefully see what happens as that kind of moves forward. But beyond that, we continue to be very conservative across what we're doing. So we'll see. We got some meetings to go through still.
We do.
And then there'll be we welcome everybody in the public to come on March 14th to the open budget hearing. It's always a fun time had by all. So Anthony isn't here, so I can't say we'll be serving coffee.
We can bring coffee.
We can bring coffee or snacks. So the public can ask all their questions, and we truly do welcome it. So you know, this is an open book, we like to call it. So. All right, so correspondences. I don't think we have any. Other matters not anticipated by the committee within 48 hours of posting. Okay, I see none. Seeing none. Future agenda items will be open budget hearing on the 14th. A little bit pre St. Patrick's Day, so maybe people can come and get a little practice in for St. Patrick's Day. And then we're going to have a discussion on school start times on the 28th and the school lunch revenue review on the 28th as well.
Chris, it would really be great to have your perspective for that conversation about school start times.
Try to get school to start at 5 a.m.
What do you think of that?
Yeah. We get out real early though. That'd be nice.
Get out real early.
Appreciate it.
11.
Appreciate the snow day, by the way.
Seriously.
That was nice.
All right. All right, on that note, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
We adjourn this meeting at 8:26. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you. Bye.
Melissa, did you sign this before you
Thank you, Chris.
No problem. Take care, guys.
leave? Sure, you can, right? Margaret told me I could get anybody.